Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm just doing an opening on the Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond Doctor Who Masters of Evil pre-constructed commander deck. Now this is a blue, black and red deck, also known as Grixis, and we can see from the front that the main commander is Davros, Dalek creator, and we also have Missy in there. Just, rather than putting Davros in both bits, just make it absolutely clear that you do get both of them in the deck. Though, if you're a Cyberman person, it's in there. If you're a Dalek person, it's in there too. And I like this thing that, the Master, or Missy at least, has become like a leader of Cybermen. It was the same thing in like the Doctor Who miniatures game. I mean, you could play her on her own, but it's kind of like, well, what are you going to play her with? Cybermen. So anyway, contains the Doctor's greatest enemies. As I said, it is a 3-color deck. It contains a collector booster sample pack plus 2 legendary traditional foils, meaning the commanders. On the back, we have Exterminate, and we also have Davros. We also have some plane chase cards in this one, such as the Doctor's Tomb. We can see on the back there we've got Missy, and we can also see a saga representing Blink, so that's pretty interesting. Now guys, if you come here just to see what cards are in this deck and you don't have any kind of prior knowledge, you're in the same boat as me, because I always try to not look these things up so that it can be a bit of a surprise to me, see what Doctor Who characters have been included. Well, we have a 100 card deck with 50 new cards, 10 plane chase cards, 10 double-sided token cards, planar die, foil, etched, display commander, life wheel, deck box, strategy insert, and reference card. So, without further ado, because these videos can get a little bit long, we are just going to crack this open. It's a good thing that I don't particularly care about keeping these Doctor Who boxes intact, because I'm weird and I want to keep the Fallout ones because Fallout aesthetic. But yeah, the Doctor Who ones seem more of a pain to open. So we've got some cool stuff in there that we'll get to at the end. We've got the little Missy cardboard cutout. We've got the Doctor Who magic crossover tokens, etc. Oh, we've got the little Davros cardboard cutout as well. I still don't really know what those are supposed to be called. In here we have the deck itself, as well as the life wheel, and oh, it's got the Doctor's Tomb on it, that one, and Missy on the other side. And we have the strategy insert, again just cardboard pieces, and then the cardboard deck box in there. I'm just going to leave in there for the time being. Try and speed this one up compared to some of the others. And speaking of, if you'd like to see my Timey Wimey pre-con opening, that'll be in the end screen at the end, and the others should hopefully follow relatively soon. Now let's get into the 100 card Masters of Evil commander deck. I mean, they call it Masters of Evil. We better hope that when they're doing the Marvel sets in the near future, they didn't want to call one of those Masters of Evil. Alright. So, first of all, we have the Surge foil version of Davros, Dalek creator. He costs 1 and blue, black and a red. He's a legendary artifact creature, alien scientist. He's a mythic as well. He has menace, and at the beginning of your end step, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact token with menace. If an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, then each opponent who lost 3 or more life this turn faces a villainous choice. You draw a card, or that player discards a card. So that's pretty good. He's a 3/4 as well, so that's not bad at all. I think 3 is a bit generous as power, but he does have, the ability to attack things with his lightning. I just never really thought about that as like a particularly powerful thing. I would have thought that would maybe be more of a 2, but yeah, definitely cool. And I'll be completely honest, as soon as like Doctor Who stuff is mentioned, Davros is what I want to play. Davros, Dalek Emperor, anything like that. So that's really cool. We got Missy. She's a much more expensive commander. She costs 3, a blue, a black, and a red. And we have really cool artwork there with the Cybermen graveyard in the background there. She looks really cool. Whenever another non-artifact creature dies, return it to your battlefield face down, tapped under your control. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. I might have known they would have Cybermen work that way, kind of, manifest / whatever the other mechanic like that was called, to get your Cybermen out of dead creatures. That makes a lot of sense. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent faces a villainous choice. Each artifact creature you control deals 1 damage to that opponent, or you draw a card and chaos ensues. We'll get on to chaos ensuing later, but yeah, it's pretty good. Wow, the silent. Okay, I'm gonna hold the deck up so we're not revealing the card before we get to it. We got Renegade Silent, 3 and a blue. At the beginning of your end step, goad up to 1 target creature you don't control and put a 1/1 counter on Renegade Silent. Renegade Silent phases out. Makes a lot of sense, I suppose. Zygon Infiltrator. Do not care for the Zygons. 2 and a blue. Body print. 2 and a blue again. Tap another target creature and put a stun counter on it. Zygon Infiltrator becomes a copy of that creature for as long as it's tapped. Okay, that's pretty cool. And it's 3/2. Don't blink. 1 and a blue. Until end of turn, if one or more creatures would enter the battlefield from exile, or after being cast from exile, their opponents shuffle them into their libraries instead. Bit niche, but okay. And cycling 2. Exterminate! We've got 2 and a black. Nice artwork on this as well. If a bit gnarly. Replicate. Tap an untapped Dalek you control. When you cast a spell, copy it. For each time you paid its replicate cost, you may choose new targets for the copies. Oh, that's good. Destroy target creature. Its opponent loses 3 life. So we're synergizing with Davros there. I'm not really sure why the 3 life thing for the Daleks, but, you know, I guess you got to give them some kind of gimmick. We've got Dalek Squadron, kind of old-style Daleks. 2 and a black. Menace. Myriad. When it attacks, basically creates a token copy that's tapped and attacking the player or a planeswalker they control as well. And then the tokens disappear at the end of the turn. So it's a good way to emulate multiple units in one card, basically. Sontaran General. Lovely. General style. 4 and a red. Trample Haste. Whenever Sontaran General and at least 2 other creatures attack, for each opponent, goad up to 1 target creature that player controls. Those creatures can't block this turn. Now, I don't particularly care for goad myself, but I'm not surprised that it's, you know, fairly common in this deck. We've got 5/5 there. I don't think he'll be quite as powerful as they were in the Doctor Who miniatures game. We've got Great Intelligence's Plan. I didn't expect this. 4, a blue and a black. Draw 3 cards. Then target opponent faces a villainous choice. They discard 3 cards, or you may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. Wow. Okay, that could be really good. So, yeah, right. Okay, Cyberman Patrol. This is a 2-drop artifact creature with artifact creatures have afflict 3. So, whenever a creature with afflict 3 becomes blocked, defending player loses 3 lives. So, it synergizes with Davros. 2/2. And Cybermat. That looks really weird. That looks like a really, like, with Cybermats didn't exist in the 70s and 80s, right? In the old days, they didn't exist, because that's what this looks like. So now I'm thinking maybe they did. Okay, it's a 2-drop artifact creature robot with Skulk, and whenever Cybermat attacks and isn't blocked, it gains X plus 0 until end of turn, where X is the number of attacking artifact creatures. Okay. Clockwork Droid. Ow. Hit my elbow. Clockwork Droid. Didn't expect this. 2-drop artifact creature robot. You may exert Clockwork Droid as it attacks. When you do, it can't be blocked and scry 1. And it's a 3/1. Midnight Crusader Shuttle. 4 and Midnight Entity. Whenever Midnight Crusader attacks, defending player faces a villainous choice. That player sacrifices a creature, or you gain control of a creature of your choice that player controls until end of turn. If you gain control of the creature that way, tap it and it's attacking that player. And it crews for 2 and it's a 3/4. That's interesting. Laser Screwdriver. Costs 3, taps for 1 mana of any colour. That's pretty good. And for 1, and to tap it, you can tap target artifact. For 2, you can tap it to surveil 1. And for 3, you can tap it and goad target creature. That's interesting. We got Arcane Signet. We got Sol Ring. We got Thought Vessel. We got Mind Stone. I'm still mad that they just made handles of Mind Stone, but at least he features it all. Lightning Greaves. Propaganda. 2 and a blue. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature you control that's attacking you. They control that's attacking you, sorry. That is an existing card, but it's not one I'm super familiar with. So, it's not a super common one, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Auton Soldier. Love to see this. Don't know why it's blue rather than colorless, like, but okay. 4 and 2 blue. Ooh, it's pricey. You may have Auton Soldier enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it isn't legendary, is an artifact in addition to its other types, and has Myriad. Wow, okay. No, that makes sense why it costs so much. That sounds really fun. It sounds really good. And we've got kind of Auton versions of the Ninth Doctor and Rose there, I think. I don't know about the purple shirt. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. We've got the Flood of Mars. Nice. Good choice for a blue. 2 blue. Alien Zombie Horror. Island Walk. Water always wins. Whenever the Flood of Mars attacks, put a flood counter on another target creature or land. If it's a creature, it becomes a copy of the Flood of Mars. If it's a land, it becomes an island in addition to its other types. Okay, that's interesting the way that works. Cyber conversion. For 2 blue, turn target creature face down. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. It's pretty good. Hunted by the family. 5 and 2 blue. Choose up to 4 target creatures you don't control. For each of them, that creature's controller faces a villainous choice. That creature becomes a 1/1 white human creature and loses all abilities, or you create a token that's a copy of it. They quite like the copies in the Doctor Who set. Dalek drone, 3 and 2 black, flying menace, exterminate. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target up creature and opponent controls. That player loses 3 life. This is, of course, the one that was in what's his name? Henry Van Staten, I think. Henry Van Staten from Manhattan, his museum. Yeah. Vashta Narada, interesting. I wonder how this works. 2 and a black. Indestructible, shadow, can block. This creature can block or be blocked only by creatures with shadow. Morbid, at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died this time, put a 1/1 count on Vashta Narada. I guess it works. I feel like that would be an instance where you'd maybe making Vashta Narada copies of things. Oh, Time Reaper! Wow, didn't see that coming. 3 and 2 black, flying haste, consume anomaly. Whenever Time Reaper deals combat damage to a player, put target face-up card they own in exile on the bottom of their library. If you do, you gain 3 life. Okay. I might have thought it would make more sense for him to deal with things that have been reanimated or have finality counters or have been played from exile, anything like that, but I digress. Doomsday Confluence. 2x and a black. Choose X. You may choose the same mode more than once. Each player sacrifices a non-artifact creature. Create a 3/3 Dalek artifact creature token with menace. Each opponent discards a card. The Toymaker's Trap. 2 and a black. At the beginning of your upkeep, secretly choose a number between 1 and 5 that hasn't been chosen. If you do, an opponent guesses which number you chose, then you reveal the number you chose. If they guessed wrong, they lose life equal to the number they guessed, and you draw a card. If they guessed right, sacrifice the Toymaker's Trap. So 3 and above is going to be like what you're after for those Dalek synergies, the Davros synergies. That's really weird the way that works. That's like an uncard. Vizsla Turlo. I'm not familiar, I'm afraid. 3 and a black. Deal with the Black Guardian. When Vizsla Turlo enters the battlefield, you may have an opponent gain control of it. If you do, it's goaded for as long as they control it. Okay. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. Then you lose life equal to the number of cards in your hand. Doctor's Companion. Genesis of the Daleks. Nice. I really like Genesis of the Daleks. 4 and 2 black. The first step, create a 3/3 Black Dalek artifact creature token with menace for each law counter on Genesis of the Daleks. That's also the second step, and the third step for that matter. And the fourth step is target opponent faces a villainous choice. Destroy all Dalek creatures, and each of your opponents loses life equal to the number of Daleks that died this turn, or destroy all non-Dalek creatures. I mean, I don't really get the second part, but it does emulate when the Doctor has to decide whether he wants to kill all the Daleks or not. This is how it ends. 3 and a black. Wow, they actually made a card for Rory and Amy being killed, which is funny. It's morbid. It's funny, though, but I didn't care for them. Target creature's owner shuffles it into their library, then faces a villainous choice. They lose 5 life, or they shuffle another creature they own into their library. Wow, okay. Death in Heaven. 3 and a black. And the first 2 stages are target player mills 2 cards, then exiles their graveyard. And the third step is put all creature cards exiled with Death in Heaven into the battlefield, face down, under your control as 2/2 Cybermen. Delete. X and 2 red. Delete deals X damage to each non-artifact creature and each player. Wow, okay. Ensnared by the Mara. 2 and 2 red. Each opponent faces a villainous choice. They exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Or that player exiles the top 4 cards of their library, and Ensnared by the Mara deals damage equal to the total mana value of those exiled cards to that player. Wow, okay. Day of the Moon. 2 and red. And for all 3 steps, choose a creature card name, then goad all creatures with a name chosen for Day of the Moon. Okay. Interesting. The Master, multiply. Now this is an interesting one. Bit of John Sim action. For a black and a red, Myriad, Time Lord Rogue. The legend rule doesn't apply to creature tokens you control. Triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creatures you control. Now, I'm not really sure how I feel about this emulation of the Master, but the Myriad thing is like interesting. I just feel like, you know, you should do something else. I don't really know about this last part. Triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens. Oh, right. Oh, I get it. So he myriads himself, and then his own effect stops them from being exiled. Right. Okay, I get it. Wow. Okay, that sounds fun. The Master, Mesmerist. 2, a blue, and a black. Taps for target creature an opponent controls with power less than or equal to the Master's power gains Skulk until end of turn. Goad it. Whenever a creature with Skulk deals combat damage to one of your opponents, put a 1/1 counter on the Master and draw a card, and he's a 3/3. Razalon, the War President. 3, a blue and a black. Legendary creature, Time Lord Noble. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life and exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Each non-creature spell you cast from exile has Conspire. As you cast that spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy, and he's a 3/4. The Master, Gallifrey's End. 2, black and red. Make them pay. Whenever a non-token artifact creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, choose an opponent with the most life among your opponents. That player faces a villainous choice. They lose 4 life, or you create a token that's a copy of that card, and it is a 4/3. The Valiard. 2, a blue, a black, and a red. If an opponent would face a villainous choice, they face that choice an additional time. While voting, you may vote an additional time, and he's a 4/5. Weeping Angel, here we go. Right, so 1, a blue, and a black. Flash, first strike, vigilance. Makes sense so far. Whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, Weeping Angel isn't a creature until end of turn. Right, okay. If Weeping Angel would deal combat damage to a creature, prevent that damage, and that creature's owner shuffles it into the library. Right, okay. That makes sense. I was going to say 2 seems a little bit weak, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The Beast! Deathless Prince. Okay, that's unexpected. 2, a black and a red. When you cast a spell, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Makes sense. Untap it, it gains menace and haste. The Beast enters the battlefield tapped with 6 stun counters on it, right? Whenever a creature deals combat damage to its owner, untap the Beast and draw a card. Okay, right. That sounds cool. Only when you cast it does he take control of stuff, though. Until end of turn as well. And he's a 6. Is he going to be fighting things? He didn't fight anything in the. Not sure about that one. And it looks like the Doctor is holding a lightsaber or something in this artwork. It's cool to see him though, and he's a commander. I think it would have been better as a commander that doesn't really battle things, like you cast it and it takes control of things, manipulates things from the sideline kind of thing. But yeah, the Rani, 1, blue, black, red. Whenever the Rani enters the battlefield or attacks, create a red aura enchantment token named Mark of the Rani attached to another target creature. That token has enchant creature, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. Whenever a goaded creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, investigate. Okay. We've got Sycorax Commander. Wow, unexpected. 2, a black and a red. First strike, haste. When Sycorax Commander enters the battlefield, each opponent faces a villainous choice. That opponent discards all cards in their hand, then draws that many cards -1, or Sycorax Commander deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand. Would it not make more sense for him to, like, duel something? Like, they fight him or something? I don't know, but, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Cyber Controller, nice! The John Lumic version and everything. Love to see it. X, doesn't have a black helmet, though. X, 2 blue and a black. When the Cyber Controller enters the battlefield, each opponent mills X cards. Put all creature cards milled this way onto the battlefield, face down under your controller. 2/2 Cyberman artifact creatures. Other artifact creatures get +1/+1. That's really good. Cult of Skaro, wow. Oh, we love to see you boys. 1, blue, black, and red. Whenever it attacks, choose 1 at random. They put a 1/1 counter on each artifact creature you control. Can draw 2 cards. Sek, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace. Well, he would. He is a black Dalek. And just each opponent loses 4 life. And it's a 4/4. The Dalek Emperor! Yes, that's what we want to see! What was I just saying earlier about the Dalek Emperor? Although we couldn't use it as a commander and use the Cult of Skaro because it's blue. But it's nice that it is a legendary creature, so we could. That's really cool. It's so cool to see the Dalek Emperor. Such an underrated villain, I think. 5, a black and a red. God, he's big. Affinity for Daleks costs 1 less to cast for each Dalek you control. It makes sense. Other Daleks have haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each opponent faces a villainous choice. That player sacrifices a creature, or you create a 3/3 black Dalek. Right? Okay. He sounds fun. Ashad, the Lone Cyberman. 1, a blue, a black, and a red. The first non-legendary artifact spell you cast each turn has causality 2. As you cast it, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater. When you do copy it, a copy of an artifact spell becomes a token. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on Ashad Lone Cyberman. Blink. 2 blue, red. 2 blue, black, sorry. The first 2 stages, choose target creature. Its owner shuffles it into the library, then investigates. And for the last 2 stages, create a 2/2 black alien angel artifact token with first strike, vigilance, and whenever an opponent casts a creature spell, this permanent isn't a creature until end of turn. The Master formed anew. Oh, look at that gnarly ass face in the background. Blue and a black. Body Thief. When you cast this spell, you may exile a creature you control and put a takeover counter on it. You may have the Master formed anew enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature card in exile with a takeover counter on it. Okay. Cybermen Squadron. 7-drop. Non-legendary artifact creatures you control have Myriad. Wow, okay. And it's a 5/5. That's pretty cool. Cyber Ship, 6-drop flying. When Cyber Ship deals combat damage to a player, put the top 2 cards of that player's library onto the battlefield face down under your control. They're 2/2 Cyberman artifact creatures. That's cool. And it accrues for 4. Wound Reflection, 5 and a black. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life they lost this turn. Wow, okay. Blasphemous Act. We always love to see it, and that is a gnarly idea for a Blasphemous Act artwork. That's Gallifrey, right? That's a really cool idea. Beautiful. Solemn Simulacrum as the emoji robot, which, I mean, this episode wasn't as cringy as I thought it was going to be. You know, a 4-drop. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. When it dies, you draw a card. I think that emulates that pretty well. The Sound of Drums, 2 and a red. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature is goaded. If enchanted creature would deal damage, combat damage to a player, permanent or player, it deals double the damage instead. 2 and a red. Return the Sound of Drums from your graveyard to your hand. I'm not sure. I mean, the last part, sure, but I'm not sure that necessarily emulates that. River of Tears. Taps for blue. If you play the land this turn, add black instead. Okay, that's cool. Foreboding Ruins. Enters the battlefield. You may reveal a swamp or mountain. Taps for black or red. Shadowblood Ridge. 1. Tap it. Taps for red and black. Smoldering Marsh. Taps for black and red. Enters the battlefield tap unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Temple of Deceit. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. Taps for blue or black. Choked Estuary enters... that's so daft. When Choked Estuary enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or swamp card from your hand. If you don't enter the battlefield tapped. Taps for blue and black. Sunken Hollow. Blue and black. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Dark Water Catacombs. That's gnarly. Oh, that's like it was written for this Doctor Who story. Pay 1 and it taps for black and blue. Fetid Pools, taps for blue and black, enters the battlefield tapped, but it cycles for 2. Temple of Malice, enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters, scry 1, taps for black or red. Canyon Slough, taps for black or red, enters tapped, cycles for 2. Exotic Orchard, Temple of Epiphany, enters tapped, enters scries for 1, taps for red or blue. Frostboil Snarl, enters... when it enters, you can reveal an island or mountain, or it enters tapped. Taps for blue and red. Stormcarved Coast enters tapped unless you control 2 or more of the lands. Taps for blue and red. Fiery Islet. Taps, pay 1 life, add blue or red. 1 tap, sacrifice it, draw a card. Lava Claw Reaches enters the battlefield tapped. Taps for black on or a red. And for 1, a black and a red, until end of turn, Lava Claw reaches becomes a 2/2 black and red elemental creature. With X, this creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn. It's still a land. That makes a lot of sense. But let me tell you, these Pyroval monsters were a lot stronger than 2/2 in the Doctor Who miniatures game. So we've got Shipwreck Marsh, enters the battlefield, tap unless you control 2 or more other lands. Taps for blue or black. Drowned Catacomb enters the battlefield, tapped unless you control an island or a swamp. Taps for blue or black. Haunted Ridge enters the battlefield unless you control, tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. Taps for black or red. Enters the battlefield, tapped unless you control a swamp or a mountain. Taps for black or red. Creeping Tar Pit enters the battlefield, tapped. Taps for blue or black. And for 1 blue-black, Creeping Tar Pit becomes a 3/2 blue and black elemental creature until end of turn. It can't be blocked this turn. It's still a land. Gallifrey Council Chamber. When Gallifrey Council Chamber enters the battlefield, surveil 1. Taps for waste. Taps for 1 mana of any colour, but you can spend it only to cast a Time Lord or Alien spell or activate the ability of one of those. Feed the Swarm, 1 and a black. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. Okay? Snuff Out, 3 and a black. If you control a swamp, you may pay 4 life rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Destroy target non-black creature. Can't be regenerated. Commander Sphere. Oh, I haven't seen that for a bit. I feel like that doesn't appear in every deck nowadays. That's the sauce, isn't it? Oh man, that's silly. Wayfarer's Bauble, that's equally silly. Talisman of Dominance. Talisman of Indulgence. Command Tower. That's an interesting command tower. Terramorphic Expanse. Is that the black hole? Thriving Moor. Path of Ancestry. This is one of my favourite Doctor Who arts, the Temple of the False God. Because this actually was a Temple of a False God. Reliquary Tower, that makes sense. Crumbling Necropolis. Nice to see. That's I don't even know what that is. Ominous Cemetery. Taps for waste. 5, tap, exile Ominous Cemetery. Target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. Okay. Island. That's a funky looking one. Swamp, mountain, and then we are at the end. So that's my main problem with the Doctor Who precons, is like you get so few basic lands, like 6 basic lands. So we've got the Edgefoil Davros. I don't particularly care for the aesthetic of these or for the thickness. We've got a treasure token, which is the Master's Ring. That's nice. And a Dalek on the back. We've got a clue token, which is that the 13th Doctor's pendulum thing, maybe? Copy token on the other side. Alien Angel. Dalek on the other side. Alien Angel. Cyberman on the other side. Alien Angel. Mark of the Rani on the other side. Alien Angel. Copy token. Another clue. Dalek on the back. Mark of the Rani. Dalek on the back. Cyberman. Mark of the Rani on the back. Cyberman. Dalek on the back. And then just some strategy insets. So that brings us to the end of the 100, as we call it. So that's cool. We got that part done. But now we'll have a look at the Planar Chase cards and the Collector Booster sample pack. So first of all, well, let's get them open. I love the idea of this Plane Chase thing, and I still haven't to this day actually tried it, but we'll get there one day. We've got City of the Daleks. Whenever you attack, target opponent loses X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Whenever chaos ensues, for each opponent, you create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace that attacks that opponent this turn if able. These tokens gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. We've got the Moon Base. Low Gravity. All creatures have 2. This creature gains flying until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Whenever chaos ensues, for each opponent, choose up to 1 target creature in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield face down under your control as 2/2 Cybermen. Dalek Intensive Care. Oh wow, the Dalek Asylum. What a great episode that was. I mean, back when we hadn't seen like the special weapons Dalek and stuff like that since the 80s, that was really cool. Whenever you planeswalk to Dalek Intensive Care, that's a funny sentence. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile a non-Dalek creature you control, create a Dalek. It creates haste. Whenever chaos ensues, target Dalek you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Bowie Base 1. At the beginning of your end step, go to target creature controlled by the player to your left. Whenever chaos ensues, target creature gains Island Walk until end of turn. Okay. The Doctor's Tomb. If a creature would die, instead exile it, and that creature's controller loses 2 life. Whenever chaos ensues, redistribute any number of players' life totals. Okay, that's interesting. Aplan Mortarium. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an exposure counter on Aplan Mortarium. Then you lose life equal to the number of exposure counters on it. Whenever chaos ensues, create 2/2/2 black angel creatures with first strike, vigilance, and whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Unleash the Flux. Whenever you encounter Unleash the Flux, each player sacrifices a non-land permanent, then you flip a coin. If you lose a flip, repeat the process. Wow. The Matrix of Time. When you planeswalk to the Matrix of Time, each player exiles the top card of the library. During your turn, you may play lands and cast spells from among cards exiled this way. Whenever you play a land or cast a spell from among cards exiled with the Matrix of Time, that card's owner loses 3 life and exiles the top card of the library. When chaos ensues, create 2 treasure tokens. Hotel of Fears. Ugh, terrible episode. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You lose life equal to its mana cost. You may play that card this turn. Whenever chaos ensues, choose a color. Put X 1/1 counters on target creature you control, where X is your devotion to that color, then sacrifice another creature. Mondasian Colony Ship. Whenever a creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other creature its controller controls that shares a creature tag with it. When chaos ensues, turn target creature face down, it becomes 2/2 Sadman. City of the Daleks. Right, okay. So that's that done. And essentially what this involves is... wait, do we have a chaos die in here somewhere? Sorry, guys, I think I'm doing half a job here. Yeah, we do. There's a chaos die in there. So you basically, as far as I'm aware, you roll this at the start of every turn. So when you roll this, you planeswalk to the next plane. So you go from whichever plane card you're on to another one. And when you roll the chaos, that's when chaos ensues. Anything else is no result. You just stick with the plane that you're currently on. So that's relatively straightforward. I would like to try that out at some point. But finally, we have the Collector Booster Sample Pack. Now, in the Timey Wimey deck, I got the 11th Doctor Borderless. So, or Extended Border, with whatever it's called. So I would kind of like to see something that isn't in the deck already this time. So it might be nice to see it, but you know, it never hurts to get anything. You know, it's a nice little addition. Looks like we got something extended there. So we got TARDIS, the showcase version of the TARDIS. Nice. I don't particularly care for these showcase cards, but you know, that's got to be decent one to have, especially in a few years' time, surely, when these things are a little bit more scarce. I also don't think that TARDIS is an incredible card in this, but I digress. And the other one is Grasp of Fate, Borderless. That's pretty cool. That's in the Timey Wimey deck, in case you didn't work it out from the artwork. But that is everything for this video. So if you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the end screen for more of the Doctor Who precons, and check out the DSW tabletop playlist for, again, more of the Doctor Who precons and other card game stuff, Magic the Gathering, pack openings, etc. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of the deck. And I really do appreciate you guys joining me. So thank you all for watching, and goodbye. Whenever you attack, target opponent loses X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Whenever chaos ensues, for each opponent, you create a 3/3 black Dalek that attacks his turn, if that attacks that opponent, if able. These tokens gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of your next end step. And we are back to the moon base. Wait. Did I just read City of Daleks twice without even realizing?